Hello all, welcome to this week's video. This week I'll be doing a video on Aspies and learning. In fact, I researched this video, and I did actually do some research, the less useful the information became. I honestly found that Aspies benefit from the Socratic method. So this week I'm going to talk a little bit about what it was like for me as an Aspie to learn what it's like, what I need. Part of it is like how I teach. I answer not well sometimes. And if you hear any snickers or anything, it's because right down there, staying out of camera view because she doesn't want to be seen, is my girlfriend. You can see, right? Yep. Okay. That's all you get. No, it's not a body. She's just laying down working on a computer. So if you hear any weird sounds or anything, that's because she's over there trying not to make any sound or do anything. Much appreciated. And at some point I'll get her on a video. I promise. I just got out of look that promises death. So anyway, back to the topic. Well, you see, the thing about Aspies and learning is that we're all very different. You're right back at what I said 3 months ago about 31 flavors of ice cream. And I'm sorry if I'm a little distracted. It's been a week of 100-degree temps around here. And I know that many of my fans across the United States are going to go, 100 degrees? We call that October. As a couple of friends of mine in the Phoenix and Las Vegas area have said, and Texas, 100 degrees? We wish! You know. So yeah, Aspies and learning. It's definitely the ice cream. We're all 31 flavors. All of it ice cream, but all different flavors, all different ways. So really the Socratic method, the Jeet Kune Do method, all of that idea of that you don't teach the student to the subject, you teach the subject to the student, is how you go. You've got to find out what Aspies are like. Giving them tests like, are you a better auditory, kinesthetic, or visual learner? Those are all just arrows. I remember taking those tests, and if you scored 1 point higher in visual, then you were a visual learner, and they teach you nothing but visual ways. They tried. This ignored I don't remember what the scores were, but say it was like 10 visual and 9 auditory and 9 kinesthetic. What they were missing was the picture was that you learned more visual than anything else, but you're also very much an auditory and kinesthetic learner. Now me, I confused them. They were firmly convinced that you were going to be one way high and the other two, maybe another one medium and one really low at most. But probably one way high and the other two really low. And I took the test and I answered it honestly, and I got auditory, visual, and kinesthetic, all exactly the same numbers. And what I found over the years is that doesn't mean that I learn equally well auditory, visual, and kinesthetic. I learn only best when I'm doing it auditory, visual, and kinesthetic put together. So you have to tell me what you're going to do, then I have to watch you do it, and then I have to do it myself. And that's how I learn best. So I have to do all 3 methods. So it's not that I'm equally good at all of them. It's more that I'm equally bad at all of them. And I've talked to other Aspies that you can show it to them. Doesn't make sense. You got to tell it to them. They're very auditory. Others are very visual. Others are very kinesthetic. And it really does depend on the person. But what I've noticed more than anything else, and this is talking to other Aspies, talking to educators, reading up on the data, is it really is we are going to, the only dependable thing is that we're going to be very different than everybody else in the classroom. Some subjects we will not need any help on. Some subjects we'll just blaze through. Like when I took physics, I slept through the first 30 minutes of class. And then I just aced that class. And I didn't have the math requirement to take that class. So we found out later, but the professor said, you've got an A in the class, you stay. And that was pretty cool. I've also had to take English 4 times before I passed. I had to take Philosophy 101. Now, mind you, it was a bad philosophy class, but I wasn't able to get a lot of the metaphor or whatnot. Now, a lot of it did depend upon, it was very culturally biased. It was very Western European. culturally biased, and my family mostly comes from Eastern Europe, and like I said, I've mentioned before, I was raised Jewish, Ashkenazi Jewish, so Yiddish and you know, pastrami sandwiches, and they're basically Brooklyn Jew, you know, Brooklyn, Cleveland, Brooklyn, you know, East Coast American Jewish culture. And so when I took that philosophy class, I spaced on it. Mind you, I read, I'd already read Sun Tzu and whatnot. So Eastern philosophy I got. So anyway, bad class, but still, I didn't learn very well. And other classes where I did really good or really bad, and honestly, the thing I found was it was the teacher. So Aspies and learning, definitely it's got to be the teacher. It's the subject. I'm not going to be the only Aspie to say this, that honestly, if I don't care about something, then I'm not going to learn about it. When I took math in Math 120, the basic college math, for those of you in different college systems, basic, you know, like if you're not getting a science degree in math, I'm taking math in 10 years, and I had to know that every single part of that class mattered somewhere. We were talking about logarithmic functions and the conversions thereof, and I had never encountered it in my life. I had never needed it in my life, and I said, "This is not making sense to me. Tell me somebody uses this and how." And he went, "Oh yeah, they use it in the medical field and they do this with it." And it clicked. I'm never going to be in the medical field. I'm never going to need this. But for some reason, my brain had to know that somebody out there somewhere needed this and it worked for them and it was good. And because of that, it made sense. I've talked to other Aspies that similar experiences. Excuse me, it's very warm and dry here. So yes, you need to approach your son, daughter, niece, nephew, spouse, brother, sister, student, teacher, whatever, and you need to understand that they're going to have an individual method to learning that is best, and almost anything else won't work very well. Honestly, when I built my bed, for those of, that's my bed, and yes, for those of you who, for those of you who have played Skyrim or know something about Scandinavian history, you're going to know that that is a Gokstad bed, and is based on some finds in Gokstad, Sweden. And I built it just because I wanted to see if I could make a camp bed for SCA. I made it out of pine, did a bunch of things, but I had to read up on it. Okay, I had to watch videos on it. I had to see drawings. Excuse me. I had to listen to them, and I had to make the bed before I understood how the bed was made. Not a very hard concept. Pegs, you know, pegs and boards and slots and whatnot. I know a lot more now than I did before, but honestly, I had to build that bed to know how to make that bed. I had to do things on my car before I could my truck before I could understand what that was in general. And I've yet talked to other people that you could show them a repair manual. You can show them how to make the repair. You read the repair manual to them. Aha! They get it. And every combination and every color and every way under the sun an Aspie is going to need. But unlike neurotypicals, who are much more flexible, much more adaptive, and much more everything not specific, much more general, we Aspies desperately need our specific ways. So for those of you who are dealing with Aspies or who are Aspies yourselves, you're going, why they need this one particular way to learn and everything else sucks, and obviously we need to teach them better ways. Well, maybe not. Maybe they need to learn to explore how to maximize every experience into that one learning way, into that one learning method. Maybe they, how do I say this? What am I thinking? It took me to my 20s to figure that out about myself, about the learning thing, and I bet if I'd had that when I was 5, I would have been a lot better. So, we as people and as educators, by the way, when I teach, I try to teach the Socratic method, the Bruce Lee method, especially with martial arts, to try to find out what people are best at. And honestly, one of the most important things that I can learn is whether or not I can teach that student. A girlfriend of a friend of mine, I can't teach her how to fence. I just will not connect with her. And I'm pretty sure she's on the autism spectrum disorder. I think she's high functioning autistic. But I know, and it's not an Aspie or autism thing, I know that with her, for some reason, I cannot teach her. And that's another thing, is learn that sometimes you could have the best teacher in the world, and it just won't work. To paraphrase Dita Von Tess, she once said that you can be the ripest, juiciest peach in the world, and some people are just not going to like peaches. Just sort of say, doesn't matter who you are, some people just won't like you. Doesn't matter if you're the best and brightest and smartest and most awesome teacher in the world, you just won't be able to teach some people. And that's okay. And that's fine. So get out there. To sum up, get out there. Teach as best you can. Learn as best you can. Maximize. And for God's sakes, many gods, all the gods, no gods, whatever, for your sake, remember, it's the Aspie that suffers if we get this wrong. So y'all have a good week. We're going to go off and get food here shortly. Say hello, girlfriend.
No.
You hear that?
No.
I will see y'all next week. Bye.